In the early 1980s, in a modest bedroom in San Francisco, a young Francisco Bamboo Mañalac sat for hours with a pair of old headphones on, lost in the thunderous world of rock music. The crackling sound of a cassette player filled the air as he listened to the legends, the Beatles, Queen, and Led Zeppelin, each song lighting a spark within him. His parents, Filipino immigrants working hard to build a new life in America, often peeked into his room, shaking their heads at their son's obsession with noise. But for Bamboo, those sounds were more than noise, they were a heartbeat, a world where he felt completely free. He didn't just hear the songs, he dissected them, studying how each word and rhythm came together. Music became his secret language, one that spoke to him more deeply than words ever could. One evening, he attended a small school concert where a local band performed with raw passion and unpolished energy. The lights, the sound, and the excitement of the crowd stirred something inside him. Watching the lead singer pour his soul into every note, Bamboo felt his own heart beat in rhythm. A quiet promise formed in his mind, a whisper that carried all the determination of a dreamer: someday, he wouldn't just listen to stories through music, he would tell his own. In that moment, a future rock star was born, not in fame or fortune, but in the simple power of inspiration and sound. In the early 1990s, Bamboo returned to the Philippines, carrying with him a restless energy and a deep desire to make music that mattered. He was no longer just a boy who loved the sound, he was a young man ready to create it. Manila's music scene was alive with ambition, and it was there that he met kindred spirits: Nathan Azarcon, Rico Blanco, Mark Escueda, and Perf de Castro. Together, they formed Rivermaya, a band that would soon redefine Filipino rock. From the moment Bamboo's deep, soulful voice met Rico's poetic lyrics and the band's electric sound, something magical was born. Their songs, 214, A Wit in Cabaton, and many others, captured the spirit of a generation, echoing dreams, heartbreaks, and rebellion. Crowds filled stadiums just to hear him sing, his voice became both a battle cry and a comfort. Yet, as the fame grew, so did the pressure. Endless performances, recording schedules, and creative disagreements began to weigh him down. The joy of singing started to fade beneath the noise of fame and expectation. Bamboo would often find himself staring into the crowd, smiling for the fans while feeling strangely hollow inside. He loved the music, but it felt like the music was slowly consuming him. Late one night, after a long concert, he looked into the mirror and whispered to himself that he needed to find peace again. The man who gave so many people hope was quietly beginning to lose his own. After years of fame and exhaustion, Bamboo vanished from the spotlight without warning. One day he was the face of Rivermaya, and the next, he was gone, no farewell concert, no announcement, just silence. Fans were stunned, and rumors began to swirl. Some said he'd left to study abroad, others whispered about burnout or secret conflicts. But the truth was simpler: Bamboo needed to disappear to find himself again. He returned to the United States, retreating into a quiet life far away from flashing lights and screaming crowds. Gone were the long nights on stage. Instead, his days were filled with ordinary routines, working simple jobs, reading, walking alone, and writing songs no one would hear. Yet even in the stillness, music never left him. Late at night, he would pick up his old guitar, strumming softly, his voice echoing through empty rooms. Each note carried both pain and healing, the sound of a man rediscovering his soul. For the first time in years, he was singing only for himself, not for fame or applause. In those moments of solitude, Bamboo understood that his real journey was never about becoming famous, it was about becoming true. He realized that sometimes you have to step away from the world to see it clearly, to hear your own heart again. And deep down, he knew that when he returned, it wouldn't be as the same man who left, it would be as someone reborn through silence. In 2003, after years of silence, Bamboo returned to the Philippines with a calm confidence and a renewed sense of purpose. The man who had once walked away from fame was ready to sing again, but this time, on his own terms. He formed a new band and named it simply Bamboo, a word that symbolized strength, resilience, and the ability to bend without breaking. When their first single, Noypi, hit the airwaves, it felt like an explosion. The song became an anthem for Filipino pride and identity, a call to rise and believe in oneself. Everywhere, people sang along, shouting its lyrics with passion. Bamboo's voice had matured, richer, deeper, and full of soul. He was no longer chasing stardom, he was chasing meaning. Each performance was raw and electric, his energy commanding every stage he stepped on. Songs like Hallelujah, Tatsalak, and Masaya resonated deeply, not just as hits, but as statements about life, struggle, and hope. Off-stage, however, he remained quiet and introspective, speaking through his music rather than through words. He had finally found a balance between fame and authenticity. For Bamboo, music was no longer a career, it was a calling. He had turned pain into purpose, silence into sound, and in doing so, redefined what it meant to be an artist. His rebirth wasn't just about returning, it was about becoming whole again. Today, Bamboo Mañalac stands as one of the most respected and influential figures in Filipino music. Years after his rise, fall, and rebirth, he continues to command the stage with the same intensity, yet with a deeper sense of peace. Whether performing solo or mentoring young artists on The Voice Philippines, his presence carries wisdom earned through experience. He no longer sings to impress, he sings to inspire. When he speaks to his students, he often reminds them, music isn't about being the loudest, it's about being honest. Those words reflect everything he has lived through, the chaos of fame, the silence of retreat, and the serenity of self-discovery. His voice, once a symbol of rebellion, has become a voice of truth and maturity. Fans who grew up with his songs still find comfort and strength in his lyrics, while new generations discover the same spark that once set him on his path. Now, when the lights dim and the crowd begins to cheer, Bamboo closes his eyes for a moment and smiles, not for glory, but for gratitude. The boy who once dreamed of telling his story through music has done more than that, he has inspired millions to find their own voice. And as the final chords echo through the hall, one thing is clear, Bamboo's music will never fade, because it isn't just sound, it's soul, courage, and the timeless rhythm of truth.